It's the dog days of summer out there, and records are being broken for temperatures across the country. But over at ACEC, our eyes are fixed on October, because that's when we're going to be holding our 2023 Fall Conference. That's right, and registration is open now for the event taking place from October 15th through the 18th in beautiful Austin, Texas. Now go over to our website, www.acec.org/FC, to get all the information you need to register for this event. Now seize your opportunity to be part of the largest event in the engineering design service industry, focused on the business of engineering, where professionals attend educational sessions, major networking events, forums, roundtables, and more. Early bird again ends on September 14th. Make sure you lock in the best rate possible. Go to www.acec.org/FC for all the information you need. Again, the 2023 ACEC Fall Conference, Austin, Texas, October 15th through 18th. We'll see you there. The AEC industry is rapidly changing, but your team doesn't have time to reinvent workflows for every new technology or client demand. ProjectWise, powered by iTwin, puts you in control and positions your firm for non-disruptive change. Whether you need to improve design quality, optimize existing processes, or even get started with digital delivery and digital twins, ProjectWise enables you to make the most of what you already have without starting over. Visit go.bentley.com/podcast to see how ProjectWise is empowering AEC firms to do more with less. Once again, that's go.bentley.com/podcast to learn more. Welcome to Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. And today we're kind of extending our conversation, the series of conversations we've been having about planning, strategic planning, organizational development, growth. In the past couple of episodes, we've talked about a lot of things happening in the industry related to M&A activity. Firms that are growing through mergers, acquisitions, trying to acquire different practice areas. But what about organic growth? What about a firm that's been able to grow its profile over a number of decades and do so successfully and really do it through organic growth? And the firm that we want to talk about today is Kimley-Horn. And to talk about that, I want to bring on Barber. He is the chairman of the board at Kimley-Horn. He's a principal at the firm, and he serves as really the individual who is kind of shaping the growth pattern at the firm, and as part of this effort of this part of the leadership team in doing this, they've been able to really grow the firm from practically about 500 individuals to 7,500 individuals over 30 years with basically no mergers. And they added 3,000 employees since 2020. And the question is, really how has the firm been able to do this in a time where the marketplace has gotten very competitive, and there's so many firms out there that are trying to bring on other firms and try to do it through M&A activity. So, Barry, I'm really pleased to have you on the show and to really get into this topic.
Thank you, Jeff. It's great to join you.
So let's talk about the firm itself. I mean, give me the rundown elevator pitch of Kimley-Horn and its main core areas of work.
Yeah, so we're a pure consulting firm, pretty much all areas of civil engineering, as well as landscape architecture, environmental sciences. And in recent years, we found ourselves branching out into some different areas involving technology, different elements of engineering. So kind of a full service, broad range of service offerings that we have.
So with that broad area of consulting services, I mean, how have you established and nurtured a firm culture at Kimley-Horn, and how has that culture helped in your growth strategy?
Oh, it's been instrumental. You referenced earlier, going from roughly 500 people to 7,500 people. over the course of the last 30 years. So we were formed in 1967. I happened to have joined the firm in June of 94. I think I was employee number 520 at the time, and we are about 7,500 people today. So it's been quite a ride. And as you said, it's been almost exclusively through organic growth. I mean, we really don't have mergers as part of our growth strategy. We focus on kind of hiring and growing a person at a time. We think that's a great way for us to be able to maintain our culture. We feel like it's a great way for us to be able to maintain our profitability, and really kind of stay true to our core. One of the things that I think is really important to understand about our firm is that the culture we have today has been around for a long, long time. So
Mhm.
our early leaders, I think they just did a phenomenal job of kind of articulating a culture, kind of creating a culture.
Mhm.
And today, I kind of put it simply, we just try not to mess it up because they put some great things in place, and we've just been the benefactors of that.
So, with new employees coming on, are they enrolled into the kind of the corporate culture of Kimley-Horn, or their guiding principles or tenets that you try to instill on those young employees, and then make sure that that's cultivated over time and just brought on as they kind of grow in the managerial kind of a role for imparting on new employees, and it's just that continuation of the culture, because being around for so long and growing at such a pace, it's keeping that culture intact is a challenge, because there's always that push pull
Yeah,
generationally and just the way the market
yeah.
is.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a push pull. One of the things I think is important is we have always had an emphasis on maintaining the culture. I remember
Hmm.
when I joined, 500 person firm was stressed out about how can we go to 800 and still keep our culture. And then it was 800, no way we can do it at 1200. And then 1200, it was like, gosh, a 2000 person firm, how can we keep the culture? Several years back, I remember going to a planning meeting where we were about 2,500 people at the time, and the
Hmm.
planning topic was planning for a 7,500 person firm. And I got to admit, I was sort of going to the meeting going, yeah, right. This is,
Right.
I just don't see I don't see this happening. And where are we today? It's about 7,500 people.
Yeah.
And so, um, it's just, I say that just because it has always been a priority, right? It's been
Hmm.
something that's from the beginning is important. We have, I think, have done a nice job of really articulating the culture, writing it down. I remember as a recruit, I was handed this little green book that was
Hmm.
entitled Philosophy, which was, 15, 20 pages,
Yeah.
small, wasn't very big. And I was like, if this is true, this is an incredible firm.
Yeah.
And I today here's the current version of that same document. It's a different shade of green. It's a little bit different size. The words are 90% the same as they were back 30 years ago. And there's just lots of different ways we've done it. And so when you've written down the culture, when you've articulated the culture, that gives you a basis from which to be able to teach and pass along the culture. And so, kind of to your earlier point, our training classes, as people join us, there's a
Hmm.
constant, sharing of culture.
Yeah.
As leaders of the firm travel from office to office, that's a big priority for us. Is just kind of share some things. One of my former colleagues used to describe it that the KimleyHorn culture, or learning our culture, is sort of like pulling
Hmm.
back layers of the onion. I've been here a long
Yeah.
time now. I'm pretty inner circle with the firm, but as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was in a conversation with one of the former leaders of the firm. I was asking him questions about how things came into being, and I learned things I didn't know. Right. And I
Hmm.
think that's kind of, there's that nuance, that learning
Yeah.
the depth. And we just encourage people to do it. We talk about it all the time, all the time. And
Yeah.
I think that's what let us be successful at it.
Yeah. It's there for a reason, because these
Yeah,
things have been
absolutely.
developed over time. How does that extend into project selection, and the actual business, right? Because you have your core values and principles that kind of guide the working of the firm. How
Right.
empowered are your employees to say, whether a project, whether it fits in, or let's say it contrasts with certain areas of firm culture, or the principles, to bring that up as an actual area of concern to upper management?
Yeah, well, I think it happens a lot. We try very hard to have what we kind of, the phrase we use is frontline empowerment.
Hmm.
where the people who are closest to the action, closest to our clients, are really helping to drive decisions. We have what we refer to as a corral, which is sort of a four different elements of decision making, and as long as something fits within the corral, people
Hmm.
are able to go and do it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously we're focusing as when we talk about the work that we do. Profitability, our ability to be profitable on the work is critical. The contract language, making sure we're signing contracts that are in the best
Hmm.
interest of our firm long term and protect the firm, very, 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 very important. But so kind of beyond those normal parameters,
Hmm.
our practice builders, the folks on the front lines, can really make the decisions on the type of projects that they chase. Very rarely at our firm is some, quote unquote, management on high
Yeah.
determining where we're going to work or even what kind of work we're going to do. It's really our people who are our practice builders who are closest to the action are really driving that. And so that's a major element of the culture. A second element of it that's really important is being a great place to work.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of it's cheap talk sometimes of we're a great place to work or whatever it may be,
Hmm.
when the reality is that maybe that's not really where the focus of the leadership is. At the end of the day, consulting is about having
Yeah.
the best people, right? And the firm with the best people wins, plain and simply. And
Yes.
that's our goal, is to have the best people, and we think we do, and we're fortunate to have been recognized by Fortune 16 times as a best place to work, on their Fortune 100 list, which has been, not that we set that out as a goal,
Hmm.
but it's a nice byproduct of the work
Absolutely.
we've been able to do. Yeah,
With the workforce, of course, is our top issue right now at ACEC. I think with the infrastructure
yeah,
bill passed, with really the money starting to flow out through all these bills, the question becomes capacity to actually do the work.
yeah,
So we know that there are challenges in graduating enough engineers out of school, number one, retaining those engineers into our industry and making sure that they stay and they grow.
yeah.
Um, for the new generation of engineers, and this is something which is a hot topic, and we always talk about exactly what do the younger cohort of engineers look for in a firm. And of course, all the reporting that's done about the either millennials or say Gen Z, it's starting to kind of filter out through universities of saying they want something more than just a paycheck. They want to be able to go to a
Yeah.
place that actually drives value. How important is it from like a market differentiator that you have that green book, that you have that core set of principles that might be really the difference maker in an engineer deciding where to go.
Yeah, it's critical, and let's face it, there are a lot of really good firms in our industry.
Hmm.
I think we're one of them. But your issue or your topic related to finding people is huge. We talk about it all the time. It's one of the reasons why we're so committed to our college recruiting program.
Yeah.
This year we've hired more than 900 folks directly off the college campus. We did the same thing last year. We have over close to 1,000 interns with us
Hmm.
this summer, because we're looking to seed the ranks with great people. But at the end of the day, all people, particularly some of the younger folks, want to be at a firm where they can make a difference.
Yeah.
And that some of the things I mentioned earlier, practice building, frontline obsession, those kind of things, I hopefully reinforce that notion. I also think that having stability and ownership transition is
Hmm.
huge. And we're fortunate. Let's face it, within our industry, we are fortunate that as we serve our clients, as we complete our projects, we're improving our communities,
Yeah.
right? And so that is we've got that just natural thing that a lot of
Hmm.
industries don't have, and I think
Yeah.
it's really helpful to us. That said, our industry has to continue to just invest in trying to find enough people. We're spending a lot of time talking about how we can find people with maybe a little bit different backgrounds
Hmm.
to be part of our workforce. We've got a major initiative associated with hiring and developing and training CAD professionals. We're
Hmm.
looking at people who have different sorts of engineering backgrounds. We're looking at
Yeah.
people who have just plain and simply just they're just smart people, that
Hmm.
can
Yeah.
manage programs, manage projects, and it's priority number one for us, and it probably will be for the coming decades.
It's a good point. I mean, the way that the industry is going, and with of course, like the ACEC Research Institute is looking at the firm of the future, what the engineering firm 10, 20 years from now is going to look like. And with the emergence of technologies like AI, Chat GPT, all these things are starting to bubble up. Um, it looks like the firm's going to change, and you're always going to have your professional licensed PEs. You're always going to have your engineers that are there, the ones who can actually sign on the line. But you might need a lot more technical staff who can actually help the engineers process, operate the systems, and get the information that they need to analyze for projects. And casting that net to kind of broaden it out to the drone operators or the technical staff, and casting that wider net. How do you see that mix? As you're planning for the future, what do you think Kimley-Horn might look like? 10 or 15 years from now.
Yeah, that's a great question. The reality is we don't really know.
Yeah.
As you said, there will be changes. I think that technology is going to be obviously going to make have massive impact on our industry, have massive impact on our firm. You stated earlier, and I think you're correct, we will have more people with a technology bent to help us to figure out how to basically what to do with data that we get. I think there's always going to be the incredible prominence and importance of having the civil engineers or other types of engineers to do the work, but it's going to be changed. I think if you think about from an industry perspective, a lot of the work that's been done, a lot of the payment on contracts that's been done for us has been based on kind of a getting paid by the hour, if you will.
Yeah.
And what happens when you're working more efficiently? Does that mean your revenue is going to go down? And I think as an industry, obviously that's not in our best interest.
Yes.
For that to happen. So we're just going to have an incredible emphasis on getting paid for value, right? Which I think our industry brings incredible value to our communities, and we need to make sure that firms get well rewarded for that value.
Yeah. No, without question. I think the value that's done by firms, within our industry and Kimley-Horn it's amazing what you can do for a community,
Yeah.
especially the communities where, I mean, where the employees of Kimley-Horn live. I mean, that's the thing. It's they give back to the communities and they actually improve things. And there's a value proposition there with an essential value to society, which needs to be reinforced. I think that our board chair, Jay Wolverton, has done a good job of putting that up front and center, that, it's value. And that's something that we need to do a better job of an industry of expressing that value. So that, like you're right. We get paid by the hour, but technology is going to make everything more efficient. And then what's the product at the end of the day, and how do you package it?
I completely agree with you. I mean, and I think kind of going back to the employee side of things, I think people just innately want to bring value to clients. They also want to know that they are valued, right? And so that's something that, as a firm, we spend an awful lot of time trying to figure out how we can value our employees. Ownership transition is a big part of that. Incentive compensation is a big part of that. Treating people with respect, giving people opportunities, all those kind of things. And I mean, let's face it, people can tell when a firm is sincere about those kind of activities, right? And so that's something we challenge ourselves with all the time, is making sure we truly live up to and a kind of our brand promise from an employment perspective. And I would encourage other firms to do the same, right? And it's more than just the words, it's the actions that match it.
Ownership transition is a big issue. I think that's, industry wide. How are these firms going to grow over time, and how is that handoff going to happen? For employees coming into the firm, I mean, to your point, is that kind of spelled out? This is the path. Like once you're in, this is the path of growth within Kimley-Horn, and this is how you need to get there.
I've referenced several times the fact that we've had our early leaders really gave us some great things to build from, and ownership transition is one of those examples. One of our early founders, a guy named Ed Vick, his quote was, "I decided I'd rather own a small piece of something big than a big piece of something small." And so from the very, very beginnings of our firm, ownership transition has been a priority. And so we're 57 years in, at this point. We have, I would believe, a stronger ownership transition situation than
Hmm.
we've ever had before. There are about 850 of us that are shareholders today. No one owns more than 2% of the firm, so it's very, very broadly distributed. But to your earlier point, when a person joins the firm, they can immediately see what we call the path to ownership, which we've got various specific steps that have been spelled out
Hmm.
about how one becomes an owner. And it starts with making a contribution to our success, right? So we kind of view becoming an owner kind of like getting married. If you're going to get married, you probably ought to date
Yeah.
first. And as part of that, and and so it's we can say to a college student, just as we can say to a senior person who joins us from another firm, you come here and there's an opportunity
Hmm.
for ownership. And we
Yeah.
give hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples of how people like them have become owners. And let's face it, solid ownership
Hmm.
transition is what allows us to maintain a strong culture, right? Because if you have a change in ownership, if you have disruption in ownership,
Yeah.
the culture by definition is going to change, because it's going to be based on what the new owners think and is what allows us to maintain a strong culture, right? Because if you
Yeah.
if you have a change in ownership, if you have disruption in ownership, the culture by definition is going to change, because
Hmm.
it's going to be based on what the new owners think. And so
Yeah.
we describe ourselves as being fiercely private. And I
Hmm.
believe that that has been just absolutely instrumental in allowing us to maintain a strong culture and have
Yeah.
great success for decades.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's there. There are a few companies out there that are multi-generational in nature and are still the same like they don't change with the wind. They don't change with just for the sake of changing. You have that core guiding principle that means that
Yeah,
someone looking at the
absolutely.
firm
In
now.
fact, we've been at it so long, we don't even think in terms of generations anymore. So your phrase multi-generational is very, very accurate. We've got our original owners or have long since retired, as well as the people that replaced them. And at this point, we've got a very, very diverse set of owners. From their 30s to their 70s, right? And as I said earlier, no one owns a real significant individual piece. In fact, I think our entire 13-person board of directors owns less than 12% of the firm. So, which is wonderful. That's the way we design it. So it's kind of the pyramid is just getting flatter and flatter, and we're excited about that. We see that as a really positive and healthy thing for us, which gives us tremendous stability going forward.
Very evenly distributed, and it
Yes.
gives
Yes.
everybody has an interest, but nobody has a
Right.
like overly
Exactly.
compelling interest.
Exactly.
There's a lot.
Well,
I mean,
yeah. Well, no one
well,
overly compelling. Maybe I shouldn't say overweighted.
overweighted.
A lot of people have a lot of value in the
Yeah.
stock. It's just no one has enough control, enough stock to be able to do things unilaterally, which is the way it ought to be.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's just a lot here. I think for firms that are looking to grow and maybe are you know we're so business, a lot of times our firms are so focused on the work that's coming in, and they want to get the work out, and they want to start establishing um, kind of the same kind of culture that Kimley-Horn has. I mean, look to firms like Kimley-Horn as the model, to see how you can establish something that's going to last a long time and not really change uh, because of a knee-jerk reaction to external factors, right? You have a guiding set of principles that actually help you weather financial storms, economic changes in market, because you have that set way of doing things. So Barry, I do appreciate your time, talking about this. It's a great example of growth through leadership and clarity of purpose and mission. That is a great counterpoint to a lot of the other activity that we're seeing in the marketplace, which is just a lot of M&A activity. So it's nice to get that other side of the story. So I do appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure, and we're very, very fortunate, as I said earlier, that some really smart people were selfless and put some great things in place, and we've been able to maintain it and hopefully build on it.
Great. Well, again, Barry Barber, Chairman of the Board, Kimley-Horn, thank you for being with us today. And again, this has been an episode of Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. We'll see you next time.